Hey guys, hey Rodrigo, nice to meet you.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Thank you so much to be here today. So we're like as usual in the podcast, the RevOps Pooper, and we have Rodrigo. So I'll let you introduce yourself. Thank you, Rodrigo.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm Rodrigo. That's how you say it properly in Spanish. People in English, you can say Rodrigo. That's okay as well. I'm a senior guided onboarding specialist at Rev Partners. What we do is basically we democratize RevOps and make sure that everyone knows about it. So this is uh, a great podcast to be in it. And I wanted to ask you straight out of the gate, like, please like explain to me the name because that's the first thing that popped out when I said I'm going to be in RevOps Pooper. So yeah, that would be my first question. I know I'm doing it backwards, but let's go ahead.
Let's go for that.
Yeah,
So your question is why the RevOps Pooper? Is it okay?
yeah, the name.
I mean, well, when I started RevOps like 4 years ago, I was the person to ask questions to people in my company, like
Mm,
always asking questions and always, um, making them like big challenges about everything. Like, why
okay.
do you use this data? And why are you doing that in this process? And who is doing that? Like kind
Yeah.
of the party pooper. Because for
Okay.
teams, for the sales team, for the marketing team, or the service team, when you ask like a lot of questions, they're like, okay, yeah, that's right. Why do we do that? And why do it's in their day-to-day lives, but they're sometimes not really asking themselves. So that's from there. But
Okay.
party pooper, let's say that's the first part of the iceberg. But the hidden part, it's more about like you help them to solve their problem, their issues, their lack of stuff. So at the end they're very grateful to you to ask those questions. That's why.
Okay. Oh, and it's perfect. So in the beginning, you're the party pooper, but then they love you, like they
Yes.
invite you to the party. So it's a. I love the name because it does raise questions
Yeah.
when you first tell somebody. So perfect.
And
Thank you
so
for that.
thanks for asking. Like, I think you're kind of the first one to ask that, so thanks for
Uh,
asking.
and the other question is, how do I say your name properly? Because
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Okay,
Okay,
I
and
will
do
do
I
that.
say Rodrigo or Rodrigo?
Yeah, yeah. It sounds very like in
Okay,
Spanish, Rodrigo. However you want to say
Rodrigo.
it, right? Like,
Podemos hacerlo en español, pero mi español es un poquito limitado, pues. Yo
no,
prefiero en inglés.
let's do it in English. And yeah, podríamos hacerlo en español también. Esa es mi voz en español, pero vamos a hacerlo en inglés. So English is fine.
Yeah, so yeah, you're from Mexico, so you speak both languages, and I guess we can do it in like, let's do it in English.
Yeah. Let's go ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Rodrigo. Today, we're going to talk about how to get all your teams to adopt the RevOps mindset. Let's say
Yeah.
that. So, first of all, I'd like to ask you, like, what is RevOps for you?
All right. So we do have um, a blueprint of how to answer that question the best possible way. I do believe a company, what it needs to have is a definition that everyone agrees on, right? And when you say RevOps, by the way, in Latin America, if you say RevOps, nobody knows what it is. I would rather say I'm in a digital agency, and so
Yeah.
people understand. If I say RevOps, it becomes a conversation because revenue operations exist with everyone. Like it doesn't matter who does it, it exists. But as a service, as we do it, it's something very specific. So what we focus on, to answer your question, it's the science of sustainable growth. Like how do we get to that point? And sustainable growth can mean a lot of things, right? But in this case, is the science of sustainable revenue growth.
Mhm.
So connecting systems in a way that whatever is needed for you to make more revenue in the digital like space, with leveraging everything that HubSpot give us, because as an elite HubSpot partner, that's our single source of truth. Like that's what we use. Um, Whatever is needed to have that sustainable growth, that's what we do. So it's the science of sustainable growth.
Okay, I love this definition. It's like pretty, straight to the way.
Yeah, it's straightforward. What is it for you though? Like, what is the way that you define it?
Thanks for asking. I think it's more about, as you said, like everybody does RevOps. Like basically you do RevOps without saying that you're doing
Correct.
RevOps. And
Yeah.
most of team, they are doing RevOps, but they don't even know that they're doing. So for me, it's just more about a mindset.
Mm,
It's you need to optimize to increase your revenues. What are you doing for that? That's it.
mm,
So you can ease your processes, you can just clean your data, you can, I don't
mm,
know, like align your teams, marketing, sales teams, etc. Whatever you do, why are you doing that? What is your goal? Okay, it's just to increase your revenue, I mean, to make your company more
mm.
profitable. So for me, RevOps, it's more a mindset, i'd
Okay.
say, I'd
So
say.
the mindset can be part of the science, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
sure.
something. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And okay, so it's a good way to think about it. It kind of like changing a mindset, kind of shifting away from what an agency does, right? Which is deliverables. We become kind of like the doctors in a way, like we prescribe what's needed. Being proactive, like reactive versus proactive, that's the other side. So it's a mindset. The mindset of being proactive is something that I don't know about you, but like a lot of times I went to meetings and what happened is like you give deliverables and you kind of like review them. In this case, what you try to do is you prescribe. So
Yeah.
you get to the point in which, okay, this is the way we should go. It's not more of let's go ahead and review what has been done in the last quarter. So yeah, that's a mindset as well. So I love your definition.
Yeah, and I like as well when you said we are kind of the doctors.
Yeah.
Can you more explain that, like the prescription stuff, etc.?
Yeah, yeah, it's different. Like when if you go to a doctor, you don't go to a doctor and expect him to be reactive to what you say. So if you go ahead and you say, "Hey, I need this, this, and this," it
Yeah,
doesn't matter. The doctor is not going to really care about your opinion. He's going to prescribe what's needed based on the symptoms.
yeah,
So you become the party pooper in a way. Like that's where it ties in. Like, yes, because you say, okay, it's good that you need that, but what about this other thing that's not happening? Like for example, data hygiene. If you were using X or Y system, and the data is completely dirty and it doesn't make any sense, are we going to just overlook that? So it is not. You need to be healthy here. So you become kind of the doctor that makes sure that everything's healthy, everything's flowing correctly, and then we get to a point in which the data matters. Because if not, it
yeah,
doesn't, right? So we're doctors in a way. We prescribe, we're proactive, we make sure that things are ready for you, but we will speak up, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I like the way you explain it, because I agree with, you know you're not just doing, I mean, just solving problem. You look for where are from the problems. So
Yeah.
you're doing exams, like basically, analysis, etc. And so I like the analogy with the doctor. I think it makes sense.
And a good way to say it, like really fast, we have talking points. Like a very good way to say it is solve for the root cause, which is
Mm.
different than react to causes that happens while it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good thing. Well, what's the best way for you to get everyone, like, let's say quite of everyone on board
Yeah.
with RevOps? Should we be talking to management first in a company, to middle management, or to, like, the operational staff? So what's the best way to get everybody on board with
And that
RevOps?
that is one of the main challenges, right? Like when we talk about alignment, everyone needs to be aligned, and it's such a talking point that's repeated over and over again. Like everyone needs to be aligned, but what does that mean really? Everyone wants to make more to grow revenue. Like that's a given, right? But what is your role within growing that revenue? When you're talking about operations, you're talking about delivery or C-suite level, like COO, CEO, whatever. If you speak to each of them, they'll have a different perspective.
Yeah,
The CEO is like, I don't care. Like sometimes they say, I don't really care how you get there, just give me the results. But it does matter how you get there, because if like if everyone in the team is
yeah,
not aligned on what's happening, then it really doesn't matter to the team to get the results. What matters is the day to day. So making their day to day better eventually leads to better revenue, better revenue engines, let's
Yeah.
just call it. And it only happens when people adopt what you're doing and align. It happens to me a lot with, and I'm going to mention a software just because it happens a lot. With Salesforce, what happens a lot is that they have architects that build up everything, but the people operating it on their day-to-day don't know how to do anything. Like it's so difficult to
Yeah.
move things around and just make it easy to use. In HubSpot, the good thing is that the UI is very friendly, but
Mm.
still, if you don't teach it right, it's not. Like it both have to be taught, right? Like it's a thing that alignment, if it doesn't happen, the C-suite level, the operation level delivery team, it's just
Yeah.
it won't advance, right? Like you hit a pause kind of. So yeah.
So do you think that, because I get what you say, like when they have different objectives, like the CEO, like the C-suites and the middle management, the operationals, they have different goals, of course, and different realities. So
Yeah.
you think it's kind of better to put everyone around the table, not all the company, of course, but maybe C-suites with like 2 or 3% from the middle management and a few operationals guys. They think it's a way to talk to people, to get them on board about, okay, that's your objective, but his goal is different. So how can we all work together in terms of RevOps and to achieve all your goals, guys? So do you think it's a way? I don't know, just
Yeah.
asking.
Yeah. Kind of like having the same infrastructure. So to answer your questions, yes, like if we're in a building, you want to make sure that it's built right all the
Yeah.
way from the ground level all the way to the top, and everyone should be talking to each other. There should be like an elevator
Yeah.
that's easy to go, and everyone has a KPI, right? Like we all have KPIs, but do they make sense in a way that they speak to each other? So breaking, this is another, not cliche, I don't know how to call that, but like a common talking point, which is breaking the silos.
Yeah.
And basically it's creating something that's not islands, it's rather than just making it all together, right?
Yeah.
Like break those islands and make sure that everyone speaks to each other. So yeah, in a way, yes, in a realistic manner, like you're not going to have the C-suite level joining the calls, for example, but you can have them aligned on what's happening.
Mhm.
Because sometimes when they join the call, they just ask like, "Why is this happening? Like, what is this?" Like, it's something that it's a conversation that shifts, and
Mhm.
everyone tends to agree with the one in charge. So they have to say, "Oh yes, we need that." But you have to have the ability to be the party pooper. So this this is a good analogy. You have to have the ability to say like, "Hey, we've been working on this, and this is the reason why, and we're 100% convinced that we're going to get there." And just state the reasons. Like
Yeah.
if you speak the truth, it should be the the main talking point that shifts the conversation.
Mhm.
If it isn't, then we're talking about just I don't know how to say it, like going with your ego, like going with what you want, but not what the company needs. So yeah, like that was a long answer. I'm sorry. Like
No, no, it's yeah, interesting. That's interesting. Something you talked about, like the CRM part, of course, RevOps, tech, that's very balanced.
yeah,
Um, how do you, how are you sure that the RevOps person or the RevOps department just don't become like the CRM admin?
yeah,
Because CRM admin, RevOps, sometimes they are very close to the.
and it's very important. Like a lot of times, what we work with CRM's part admins, so
Yeah.
they're not the same thing. CRM admin, the implementation specialist, might not have this conversation. You need that outside voice sometimes, that doctor, right, to prescribe.
Yeah.
So it's way better for me to go into a call and say like, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong, this is right. Let's go ahead and fix it, rather than somebody that's implementing every day. Because the question shifts to why aren't you doing this? So people, to save their jobs, they're not going to say we need to fix this, this, and this, because he has to be polite with the teammates. He has to make sure that the CEO sees that he's doing a good job. So having that outside voice is very important. Like it's something that we work as a team, but in a way as an implant, or I don't know how to call it. Like, I don't know if an implant or a kind of like a temporary partner or a long-term partner, depends on the engagement.
Yeah.
We're not scared of losing our jobs, because in this case, like, they're paying us to be the doctor in that specific scenario.
Okay, but you need a CRM admin to be your
Yeah,
friend. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And we can also work as the CRM. Like, we can definitely take charge 100% of the CRM. It's just like, if there's one,
Yeah.
not a problem. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like sometimes if they have their own, like the company, they have their own RevOps teams, or let's say one RevOps person, I feel like this person could be more a CRM admin than a RevOps. And as you
Oh,
said, because you need, this voice from outside, like you
yeah.
need sometimes to have the comfort to ask to someone else outside your company to give you advice or something like that. So yeah, I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. And
sometimes it's tricky to make the difference.
and I love that question, because it's not talked about enough, right? Like, it's because the usual answer is, okay, so you essentially become the CRM admin, and it's like, not necessarily. Sometimes
Yeah.
we work with them, right? Like, we focus on things that, some talking points that they might don't want to raise because of what we said. Like, you're looking out for your, obviously, to make your job in the best possible way. So
Yeah.
sometimes you just stay quiet, right? Like, you don't want that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right. So the next question is more about, the obstacles. What are the challenges of a RevOps people, like in your day-to-day life, except like people that they don't understand what RevOps is? But
Yeah.
what's your challenges?
There are, I think there are a ton based on the maturity level of the company.
Yeah.
I think challenges arise because if you're talking about, we need to do this fast, for example, it
Yeah.
doesn't 100% depend on you. Like,
Yeah.
people have to be aligned, things have to be integrated, but afterwards results have to come in, and then sales need to happen, etc. So you not being able to impact directly on sales, like, you do impact on the results, how the system communicate and all that, but there are some things that are outside of the scope of work. So the
Yeah.
challenge is to, okay, we have everything in place. Now we need to
Yeah.
drive correctly, right? So
Yeah.
we can have the best engine possible, but that engine needs to be used correctly. So constant training, constant alignment, constant adoption needs to happen.
Yeah. I feel you when you say, like, sometimes you have people that they really want to go fast and they're asking, like, okay, I need this process to be implemented in the 2 next weeks, and you're like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
just not a process. It's about people, it's about the tech, it's about the data. So you need to align all those stuff before getting the process in place. But yeah, I'll leave that's like day to day.
and that
Yeah.
is perfect. Like, people process data. Like, that's, yeah, that is a good way to say it. But some people leave just the process and data, right? And you just go like, hey, nobody in your team knows like
Yeah.
how
Um,
to, I don't know, do a correct report and add it to a dashboard that makes sense. And you guys are not sharing the dashboard, you're all sharing Excel sheets. It's like,
yeah.
that's such a basic thing, like sharing a dashboard, but it seems like a basic thing. But then you go into a meeting and somebody opens up their Excel and they just go like, oh, this is what's happening. And it's just like, why aren't we doing this in the CRM? And it's like, oh, because we don't have the custom properties. We don't have XYZ built up so that we can see it in the dashboard quickly. Why don't we do that? Oh, there's some sensitive information that, okay, let's not upload the sensitive information. Let's upload the one that, so those conversations become kind of like, yeah, the thing, the obstacles. Yeah.
A bit tense. And I liked when you talked about people. I think we often forget people, that you need to have people on board, but you need to have people use the process you just implemented. And if they're not comfortable with it, you cannot, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna see it in the platform, and you're gonna see that the results are not here.
Yeah.
So what about, do you think that we in the RevOps methodology, let's say, do we need to test on people? What's the, for example, let's say like a new sales process? Do you think that we need to, to test this process
Yeah.
with a bunch of people, just letting them know that's what he's going to do? And I don't know, what's your opinion about that?
Yeah, no, and that's a great question because I posted about it yesterday. Actually, I was going through the sales process. I was going through sales stages,
Okay.
and during my talking points, I realized it's always this way, right? Like we build the sales stages, but if nobody uses them, uh, commonly what I get asked is, "Hey, let's streamline the process." The word "streamline the process" means like let's do it fast.
Yeah.
It's not really what you need. Like let's make the process the best possible way, but and then they say this other thing, following best practices, right? Like that's the other. There's no best practice that is best practice if nobody's practicing. you know so that's what I usually say. It's there's no such thing. It's nobody's actually going through using. If we have the stages, okay, somebody needs to be create the deal, go through the stages, and then tell me this is perfect, it mirrors what I want, or this is not what I wanted. Having those transparent conversations need to happen, and also using it on the day to day. Like if we use tasks, how do we use them? Or do you have 25 tasks from
Yeah.
2022 that you haven't completed? Yeah.
Exactly. That even if you need tasks, are you really gonna use them? Because reality versus dream.
Yeah. Automation is beautiful. Like when you move the stage to close one, the task's automatically created and all good, and you're assigned. Yeah, but are you actually inputting the data? Are you using it? If the answer is no, those are not the best practices.
Yeah. And that's where you need to align, like people who are doing it and like the people who are thinking it, which is something.
Yeah. Alignment, adoption, and to your point, like people first. Like and that's sounds kind of like when you say people first, people automatically go into, oh, you're talking about culture, you're talking about like like you start getting that conversation of, but what about results, right?
Yeah.
Like results happen when people align. Like that's the answer.
Yeah, you're right. Well, time flies, so I think we're gonna just do like maybe a last question about money.
Okay.
So the RevOps is obviously a big expense for our company, a big cost.
Yeah.
So how do we convince people to adopt RevOps and just show them that it can be a source of profitability? So how do you talk to people for showing that?
Yeah, and it's a kind of like a complex conversation, right? Because it depends on the size of the company. Like if they're a startup, if they're very if they have the money, if they don't, like if they're making an effort to pay you, if it's just a part of their budget. But the main point that we give whenever we talk about money and if there's value to it is just imagine that you have to hire somebody that's a RevOps expert, right? How much would that really cost? What would be the cost of hiring somebody that's on top of their game? They have the best possible playbooks, and they do that in their day to day. That's an expensive cost, right? Like that's a cost that, and when you hire that individual, is it gonna deliver? Like, are they gonna bring value? When you hire somebody that's a RevOps expert, um, they need to be the doctor. Like if you go to a doctor, you go to a doctor because they're the best possible doctor. If they fail at their prescribing, you don't return to that doctor. You go to a different one. That's a huge difference. We have to constantly deliver value for the partners, which is how we call our clients, whenever for the partners to come back to us, right? So we're kind of like the doctors that are part of your team. So
Yeah.
you don't have to hire somebody. So
Yeah.
in that way, you save a ton of money. But in the other way, like people just look at the price and, hey, why is it so expensive? Because you're
You're
hiring
paying
somebody.
like the best doctor ever, then
Yeah,
that's why.
that is yeah, that's the easiest way to say it. But yes, you're paying the best doctor ever that has a team, that has a bunch of playbooks, that this is their conversation in their day to day. So if you have somebody internal, you're going to teach them your ways, but not really the ways, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
That's
and plus you has a partner, like you can compare different use cases, and you can have,
yeah,
like add them some, okay, I've seen that with another partner, another client, so you should maybe rethink this process, or
yes.
so you can compare. And I think it's a big strength, and to add to the conversation, has when you're like an outside RevOps partner.
Yeah. And that is such a great point that I didn't mention. Like you can just say, like, I just saw this 30 or other times. That you're
Exactly.
the 31st to ask that question because
Yeah.
this is what we do. And when you have one person doing it, it's not the same thing. It's just their world becomes what you want them to see instead
Yeah.
of what's happening with different areas. So yeah, that is
You
great.
bring another perspective, and you bring another like experience, which is really important, to open your eyes about.
Yeah, yeah. No, that is perfect too. That is a perfect way to actually finish the podcast. Like I love that. Yeah.
So yeah, let's finish right now. So yeah, thank you so much, Rodrigo.
Thank you. And I think time flew by for me. I hope it flew by for the people listening. So thank you for
For
inviting
sure.
me. Hope we do this again in the future.
Yeah, it was great pleasure, and thank you also for listening. So I said you like see you to the next podcast.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Rodrigo.